Shaggy's Angel has over 500 million Spotify streams, but here's the twist. A huge slice of those millions, it doesn't even go to Shaggy. Why? Because Angel secretly stitches together two classic hits from the past, songs you've definitely heard before, but never realized were hiding inside this reggae anthem. And once you hear how this track was built, you'll never listen to it the same way again. Stick around, because this story dives into hidden royalties, career-saving gambles, and the genius business move that turned Angel into one of the most profitable reggae crossovers ever recorded. When Angel dropped on January 9th, 2001, it became a monster hit almost overnight. It topped charts in 12 countries, went platinum in the UK, sold over 1.5 million digital copies in the US, and is still climbing past 500 million Spotify streams today. That kind of success translates into tens of millions of dollars in lifetime revenue. But here's what most fans don't realize. Shaggy doesn't keep it all. The smooth bass line? That belongs to Steve Miller, writer of The Joker in 1973. The unforgettable Angel of Mine melody? Written by Chip Taylor, the man behind Angel of the Morning in 1967. Because Angel borrows from both, royalties are shared. Industry insiders estimate Miller and Taylor collectively take 30 to 50% of publishing income, meaning they still collect a hefty paycheck every single time Angel streams, sells, or plays on radio. To put that into perspective, 500 million Spotify streams roughly generate around $2 million in payouts. Even if Shaggy earns a performer's share, Miller and Taylor likely split several $100,000 annually just from streaming alone. Here's where most people get confused. Royalties aren't just one flat payment. You've got publishing royalties, which go to songwriters, and master royalties, which go to the performer or label that owns the recording. Then, there are performance rights, which kick in every time a track gets played in public. Radio, TV, bars, even elevators. That's why Miller and Taylor keep cashing in decades later. A famous example? Puff Daddy's 1997 tribute track, I'll Be Missing You. It sampled the Police's Every Breath You Take, which means Sting has reportedly earned more from that cover than from his own version. Shaggy's Angel falls into the same category. A song where the hidden writers earn just as much spotlight in the royalty checks as the man performing the hit. But Shaggy and producer Sean Sting Pizzonia didn't just copy the riff. They slowed it down, added reggae percussion, and wrapped it around Shaggy's unmistakable vocal style. It turned a rock groove into a reggae heartbeat. Then comes the clever twist. That soaring Angel of Mine line, it's an interpolation of Chip Taylor's Angel of the Morning, a ballad written in 1967 and made famous by Juice Newton's 1981 version. Instead of sampling Newton's recording, Shaggy's team re-sang the hook themselves. That move avoided expensive licensing fees while still triggering instant nostalgia for listeners who subconsciously recognized the melody. It wasn't just a sample, it was a masterclass in building a hit on familiar DNA. What makes this moment more powerful is the backdrop. It was the late 90s, and Shaggy wasn't recording in a flashy million-dollar studio. He and Sting International were working in tighter spaces, often reusing gear and pulling sounds from crates of vinyl. For Shaggy, this wasn't just another experiment. It was survival. Rayvon's presence was crucial too. The two had been partners since the early 90s, and Rayvon's harmonies smoothed out Shaggy's gravelly delivery, turning the song from raw reggae fusion into a radio-ready anthem. There's even soft speculation from industry insiders that Shaggy originally wanted to sample a different rock track entirely, but publishing hurdles made The Joker the easier and cheaper choice. That rumor's never been confirmed, but if true, it adds another layer of business strategy behind Angel's creation. What most fans don't know is that Shaggy's entire career was hanging by a thread before Angel. In 1997, after his album Midnight Lover flopped, Shaggy was dropped by Virgin Records. Critics labeled him a one-hit wonder after his early success with Boombastic. But rewind even further, and the story gets sharper. Shaggy first hit the charts with Oh Carolina in 1993, a dancehall update of a 1960 ska track. Then came Boombastic in 1995, which won him a Grammy. But many in the industry saw these as novelty smashes rather than signs of a sustainable career. By the late 90s, the Novelty Act label stuck, and reggae was fading from mainstream US radio. For Shaggy, one wrong move meant permanent obscurity. That's when DreamWorks Records took a gamble. They believed reggae fusion still had untapped potential, and they doubled down on Shaggy's vision. When It Wasn't Me and Angel exploded back-to-back, it wasn't just a comeback, it was a career resurrection. Shaggy went from near obscurity to owning the charts within 2 years. On paper, Angel shouldn't have worked. A Jamaican reggae artist, a 70s rock bassline, and a 60s ballad melody? But that unusual fusion became the perfect storm. Shaggy tapped into 3 audiences at once: reggae and dancehall fans connected with his smooth delivery. Classic rock listeners subconsciously recognized the riff. Soft ballad lovers felt instant nostalgia hearing Angel of the Morning. By connecting 3 different generations, Angel became a cross-genre anthem. And look at who Shaggy was up against. In 2001, the Billboard Hot 100 was dominated by R&B and hip-hop. Outkast's Ms. Jackson, Destiny's Child with Independent Women, and NSYNC still clinging to the charts. Against that backdrop, a reggae fusion track topping the charts for 3 weeks straight was nothing short of shocking. Audiences were growing weary of cookie-cutter boy bands and needed something refreshing. Shaggy delivered that with a song that felt both familiar and entirely new. It also hit #1 across Europe, Australia, and Asia, proving Shaggy's sound had worldwide reach. Not everyone celebrated Angel's success. Some reggae purists criticized Shaggy for watering down the genre to appeal to mainstream pop audiences. Music magazines debated whether Angel marked the commercialization of reggae fusion, with one critic writing, "This isn't roots. This is reggae for top 40 radio." But Shaggy pushed back hard. For him, Angel wasn't about selling out. It was about bringing reggae to new audiences. Ironically, some analysts now argue that Angel saved reggae's mainstream relevance in the early 2000s, paving the way for artists like Sean Paul, Rihanna, and K-Non to reach international charts. For decades, millions of listeners loved Angel without realizing 2 older hits were stitched inside it. Then came the internet. One Reddit user confessed, "Took me 33 years to realize Angel sampled the Joker. Mind blown." Another wrote, "I thought Shaggy came up with that hook. Turns out I've been humming Juice Newton since I was a kid." TikTok mashups and YouTube shorts keep going viral as new fans hear the mashup for the first time, with comments like, "I feel like my childhood just glitched." Even today, more than 20 years later, Angel keeps trending as fresh audiences rediscover its hidden layers. Here's where Angel went from being a hit to becoming a business masterstroke. By interpolating the Angel of the Morning melody instead of sampling Juice Newton's original recording, Shaggy's team dodged one of the biggest licensing costs in the music industry. At the same time, clearing Steve Miller's riff from the Joker was quick and efficient, giving him his cut but avoiding messy negotiations. Industry speculation says Shaggy's team deliberately structured the royalties deal to maximize his share of performance income while still securing fair publishing splits for Miller and Taylor. If true, it explains why Angel remains one of Shaggy's most profitable songs decades later. Angel's success didn't stop in the early 2000s. Over the years, it's appeared in movies, TV shows, commercials, and viral TikTok edits, keeping it alive for new generations. One of the biggest strengths of Angel is its adaptability. It has shown up in everything from karaoke nights to wedding playlists, and even made background appearances in commercials that wanted to project a feel-good, nostalgic energy. Streaming platforms have only supercharged this cycle. In the 2010s, younger fans discovered it through YouTube lyric videos. In the 2020s, TikTok challenges gave it yet another revival. In fact, a new wave of fans discovered the song in 2024 when a TikTok challenge using Angel's chorus racked up millions of views in just weeks. 2 decades later, the track keeps finding ways to feel relevant, proving that a smartly built song never really fades. Shaggy's album Hot Shot went 6 times platinum in the US and sold over 9 million copies worldwide. With back-to-back #1 hits, It Wasn't Me and Angel, Shaggy became one of the highest-earning reggae artists in history. To this day, Angel is one of the most streamed reggae pop tracks ever recorded, generating steady royalties for Shaggy, Steve Miller, and Chip Taylor. But the real triumph isn't just the money. Shaggy flipped an industry that had counted him out and turned borrowed melodies into a timeless anthem. In doing so, he wrote a survival manual for artists everywhere. Never be afraid to borrow from the past, so long as you reshape it into something new. Shaggy's Angel isn't just a song, it's a blueprint. A reggae crossover built from hidden melodies, smart licensing, and unforgettable hooks. In the end, Angel wasn't just about Shaggy's comeback. It was proof that music history repeats itself, sometimes literally, note for note. What other hits do you think are secretly built on older classics? Drop your guesses in the comments. We might feature them in a future episode. Legends and lyrics where the music lives on.